I'm Sarah Martinez, and at 24, I thought my MBA graduation would be the proudest moment of my life. I pictured my parents beaming in the audience as I walked across that stage at Arizona State University, finally proving I was worth their attention. Instead, I sat alone in my cap and gown, watching other families celebrate while mine was 200 miles away in Scottsdale, taste testing wedding cakes for my sister Jessica. They chose frosting flavors over my degree ceremony, calling my graduation just another Tuesday, while treating Jessica's wedding planning like a national holiday. That betrayal lit a fire in me that would eventually consume everything they thought they knew about their quiet, overlooked daughter. What I did next took years to execute, but it was worth every calculated move. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. Growing up in Phoenix, our family lived in a sprawling house in Ahwatukee, complete with a 3-car garage and a pool that reflected the desert mountains. My parents, Robert and Linda Martinez, had built their fortune from a single taco stand into Martinez Family Restaurants, a chain of 12 locations across Arizona and New Mexico. Success came with expectations, and those expectations had names. Jessica was destined to be the creative visionary who would modernize our brand, while I was supposed to be the reliable workhorse who handled the boring business side. The favoritism wasn't subtle. Jessica got the corner bedroom with the mountain view, while I occupied the smaller room overlooking the neighbor's fence. When she declared herself an artist at 15, our parents converted the garage into her design studio, complete with professional lighting and a drafting table that cost more than most people's cars. My request for a quiet study space was met with a suggestion to use the kitchen table. Jessica's artwork covered every wall of our house, displayed like museum pieces, while my honor roll certificates were stuck to the refrigerator with dollar store magnets. During family dinners, conversation revolved around Jessica's latest creative project, or her plans to revolutionize our restaurant industry through innovative design concepts. She spoke passionately about transforming our traditional Mexican eateries into trendy fusion experiences that would attract younger crowds. Robert and Linda hung on every word, their faces glowing with pride as Jessica sketched her vision on napkins. When I tried to contribute ideas about operational efficiency or customer service improvements, I was quickly dismissed with, "That's nice, Mija, but let's hear more about Jessica's artistic vision." The restaurant business became Jessica's playground. She redesigned menus, chose color schemes, and even influenced hiring decisions based on aesthetic preferences. Meanwhile, I spent summers washing dishes and cleaning tables, learning the business from the ground up. Not because anyone valued my perspective, but because someone had to do the unglamorous work. I watched servers struggle with inefficient systems and saw customers leave due to long wait times. But my suggestions for improvements were brushed aside. Jessica's beauty was the brand's future. My brain was just free labor. High school intensified these dynamics. Jessica attended Desert Ridge's prestigious arts program, where she flourished among other creative students. Her fashion design projects earned regional recognition, and our parents attended every exhibition, competition, and award ceremony with cameras blazing. They threw elaborate parties when she won contests, inviting extended family and business associates to celebrate their artistic daughter's achievements. My academic accomplishments received polite acknowledgement at best. When I was accepted into the National Honor Society, Linda mentioned it casually to Aunt Carol during a phone conversation, treating it like routine news rather than a significant achievement. When I scored in the top 5% on standardized test, Robert nodded approvingly, but immediately shifted the conversation to Jessica's latest fashion show. My guidance counselor, Mrs. Patterson, noticed the disparity during parent conferences. She praised my analytical skills and leadership potential, suggesting I had exceptional business acumen that could benefit any organization. Robert and Linda smiled politely, but spent the remainder of the meeting asking about Jessica's creative writing grades. The pattern continued through senior year. Jessica's acceptance to the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising was celebrated with a weekend trip to San Diego and a professional photo shoot to commemorate her achievement. My acceptance to Arizona State University's highly competitive business program was acknowledged with a congratulatory text message while they were out shopping for Jessica's dorm room decorations. The disparity was so pronounced that even Jessica seemed uncomfortable, though she never spoke up to advocate for equal treatment. College offered an escape from constant comparison, though the financial arrangements revealed ongoing favoritism. Jessica's private art school tuition, room and board were paid in full by our parents, who proudly described it as an investment in the family's creative future. They established a generous monthly allowance for her living expenses, ensuring she could focus entirely on her studies without working. My state school education was also covered, but with conditions. I was expected to maintain a part-time job to cover personal expenses and contribute to my own living costs, supposedly to teach me responsibility and work ethic. At Arizona State, I discovered talents that had been overshadowed by Jessica's artistic flair. My professors in the business program recognized analytical abilities that impressed even seasoned professionals. Dr. Richardson, who taught strategic management, often used my case studies as examples for other students. My internship supervisor at Southwest Marketing Group, Mark Stevens, praised my ability to identify market inefficiencies and develop practical solutions. For the first time, I was surrounded by people who valued intelligence over aesthetics, substance over style. My social circle expanded beyond family expectations. Ashley Chen, a fellow business student from Taiwan, became my closest friend and study partner. She came from a family that prioritized academic achievement above all else, and she was shocked by the stories I shared about my parents' treatment. Ashley's perspective helped me recognize that my family's dynamic wasn't normal or healthy. She encouraged me to document my achievements and build a portfolio that would speak for itself, regardless of my parents' acknowledgement. David Compson entered my life during junior year, when we were partnered at State for a marketing research project. Unlike the guys Jessica typically dated, artists and musicians chosen more for their aesthetic appeal than their character, David was substantial. He studied finance, planned to become a certified financial advisor, and appreciated my analytical mind. Our relationship developed slowly, built on mutual respect and shared academic goals. David listened when I described family dynamics, offering insights from his psychology minor about favoritism patterns and their long-term effects. Throughout college, I called home regularly, hoping to share my successes and maintain family connections. These conversations followed predictable patterns. Linda would ask about my grades and health, but quickly transitioned to updates about Jessica's latest projects or romantic adventures. Robert usually grabbed the phone to discuss restaurant business challenges, but these weren't requests for my input, they were monologues about problems he was solving independently or with Jessica's creative consultation. My suggestions were politely received, but never implemented, as if my business education was merely theoretical rather than applicable to real-world situations. Meanwhile, Jessica's college experience became family legend. Her designs were featured in student exhibitions, and she interned with established designers in Los Angeles during summers, while I worked double shifts at our restaurants to save money for graduate school. Her professors praised her innovative approach to sustainable fashion, and she was selected for a prestigious study abroad program in Milan. Robert and Linda visited her campus multiple times, attending fashion shows and meeting her instructors, treating these trips like vacations. My academic achievements, Dean's List recognition, business plan competition victories, leadership roles in student organizations, merited phone calls, but
Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story.
never visits. The disparity became more pronounced as graduation approached. Jessica's senior portfolio exhibition was treated like a family reunion, with relatives flying in from New Mexico and California to support her artistic debut. The event was held at a trendy gallery in Scottsdale with professional photography and a catered reception that cost more than my entire semester's living expenses. Jessica's designs were genuinely impressive, and she received multiple job offers from fashion houses and design firms. Robert and Linda glowed with pride, introducing her to everyone as our brilliant creative daughter who's going to revolutionize the fashion industry.
My undergraduate graduation ceremony was attended by my parents, but their presence felt obligatory rather than celebratory. They sat quietly during the lengthy ceremony, checking their phones and discussing restaurant logistics in whispers. The reception afterward lasted barely an hour before they needed to return home for a business meeting that could have easily been rescheduled. There were no photographs, no family gathering, no celebration dinner. Linda hugged me briefly and said she was proud, but her attention was already shifting to Jessica's upcoming Fashion Week appearances. The contrast became even starker when I announced my acceptance to ASU's MBA program, one of the most competitive graduate business schools in the Southwest. My undergraduate GPA, GMAT scores, and professional recommendations had earned me not only admission, but also a partial scholarship based on academic merit. This achievement represented 2 years of intensive study that would position me for senior management roles and potential business ownership. Robert's response was lukewarm approval, acknowledging that the degree might be useful for restaurant management someday, but lacking the enthusiasm he showed for Jessica's creative pursuits. Graduate school intensified my understanding of business operations, strategic planning, and organizational leadership. My professors consistently ranked my work among the top in each class, and my thesis on family business succession planning earned recognition from the university's business journal. I was developing expertise that could transform our restaurant chain into a regional powerhouse, but my family continued treating my education as secondary to Jessica's creative career. During my second year of graduate school, Jessica announced her engagement to Marcus Rivera, a photographer she'd met during a fashion shoot in Los Angeles. The engagement sparked months of intensive wedding planning that consumed every family conversation. Linda took leave from restaurant operations to focus exclusively on creating what she called the wedding of the century. Robert allocated substantial financial resources to ensure every detail met Jessica's artistic vision. The guest list grew to over 300 people, including celebrities from the fashion world and influential figures from Phoenix's social scene. My role in wedding preparations was primarily logistical, coordinating vendor deliveries, managing guest lists, and handling administrative details that Jessica found tedious. I suggested numerous cost-saving measures that could maintain quality while reducing expenses, but these recommendations were dismissed as missing the point of creating a memorable artistic statement. Jessica's wedding wasn't just a celebration, it was a showcase of our family's success and her creative brilliance. No expense was too great for this once-in-a-lifetime event. As my MBA graduation approached, I assumed my parents would arrange their schedules to attend such a significant milestone. Graduate school had been challenging, requiring evening classes and weekend study sessions while maintaining my part-time job at the restaurant. My thesis defense had gone exceptionally well, with committee members praising my research and analytical framework. Dr. Williams, my thesis advisor, described my work as publishable quality and encouraged me to consider doctoral studies. This validation meant everything to me after years of having my intellectual achievements minimized. 3 weeks before graduation, I reminded my parents about the ceremony date and sent them official invitations with parking information and reception details. Linda seemed distracted when I mentioned it, nodding absently while reviewing wedding venue contracts. Robert was focused on staffing adjustments needed to accommodate family members' time away for Jessica's wedding, which was scheduled 6 weeks after my graduation. I assumed their preoccupation was temporary and that they'd prioritize my graduation day when it arrived. 1 week before the ceremony, I called to confirm their attendance and discuss post-graduation celebration plans. Linda answered the phone sounding frazzled, surrounded by the chaos of final wedding preparations. When I mentioned graduation, she paused as if trying to remember what I was referring to. The silence stretched uncomfortably before she explained that they couldn't attend because Jessica needed their help with a final dress fitting and vendor meetings that same weekend. The wedding planner had scheduled these appointments months in advance, and changing them would jeopardize carefully coordinated timelines.
My heart sank as the reality hit me. My MBA graduation, representing 6 years of higher education and countless hours of dedicated study, was being sacrificed for wedding dress alterations and flower arrangements? Linda's tone suggested this was a reasonable trade-off, as if my achievement was easily postponed, while Jessica's wedding preparations were immutable. She offered to take me to dinner the following week to celebrate, treating my graduation like a minor personal accomplishment rather than a significant family milestone. Robert got on the phone to explain the business rationale behind their decision. Jessica's wedding was a major networking opportunity that could benefit the entire family's future. Important investors and potential business partners would be attending, making every aspect of the preparation crucial for long-term success. My graduation, while personally meaningful, didn't offer the same strategic advantages. He suggested I take photographs and share them later, completely missing the emotional significance of having family present during such an important moment. The conversation ended with promises to celebrate properly after Jessica's wedding, but I knew these pledges were empty gestures. My achievements had always been secondary to Jessica's needs, and this pattern wasn't going to change simply because I'd earned an advanced degree. I hung up the phone feeling hollow, realizing that 24 years of hoping for equal treatment had been naive. My parents had shown me exactly where I stood in their priorities, and it wasn't anywhere near the top. Graduation day arrived with Arizona's typical blazing sunshine. I sat alone in the business school section, watching families around me celebrate their graduates with flowers, cameras, and proud tears. Ashley's parents had flown in from Taiwan to attend her ceremony, treating the occasion with the reverence it deserved. David's entire extended family filled a row, cheering loudly when his name was called. The contrast highlighted my isolation in sharp relief. When my name was announced, I walked across the stage to receive my MBA diploma, hearing only scattered applause from classmates and faculty. Dr. Williams smiled warmly as she shook my hand, whispering congratulations and reminding me of the opportunities ahead. For a moment, her pride almost filled the void left by my family's absence. Almost, but not quite. The reception afterwards was torture. Families posed for photographs while I stood alone, pretending to check my phone to avoid looking pathetic. Ashley found me near the refreshment table and insisted I join her family celebration photos. Her parents, Mr. and Mrs. Chen, were appalled when they learned about my parents' absence. Mrs. Chen, speaking through Ashley's translation, expressed shock that any parent would miss such an important occasion. Their outrage on my behalf was both comforting and deeply embarrassing. That evening, I returned to my apartment and did something I'd never done before. I researched my family's financial finances with the analytical skills I'd just spent 2 years developing. Our restaurant chain was more successful than I'd realized, with annual revenues approaching $15 million. However, my analysis revealed several concerning patterns that my parents seemed oblivious to or were choosing to ignore. The business was heavily leveraged, with expansion funding tied to variable rate loans that could become problematic if interest rates increased. Cash flow management was inefficient, with excess funds sitting in low-yield accounts instead of being strategically invested for growth or security. Most troubling, there was no formal succession plan despite Robert and Linda's approaching retirement age. They'd built a valuable enterprise, but hadn't structured it to survive their departure or provide for their long-term financial security. As I reviewed financial statements and tax documents, a plan began forming in my mind. My parents had dismissed my business education and analytical abilities for years, preferring Jessica's creative contributions to my strategic thinking. They'd chosen wedding planning over my graduation, making it clear that my achievements would never be their priority. But their indifference to my capabilities would become their weakness. I spent the following weeks developing a comprehensive business analysis that revealed both opportunities and vulnerabilities in our family's financial situation. My MBA education had equipped me with sophisticated tools for evaluating organizational structures, market positioning, and long-term sustainability. What I discovered would have concerned any rational business owner, but Robert and Linda were too distracted by immediate pleasures to recognize emerging threats. The wedding approached with escalating drama and expense, while I quietly began implementing phase 1 of my plan. They'd taught me that actions have consequences, and Jessica's wedding dress fitting had cost them far more than missing my graduation. They just didn't know it yet. Part 2. The devastating moment. Jessica's wedding consumed our family like a magnificent obsession. Every conversation, every decision, every spare moment revolved around creating what Linda called a fairy tale come to life. The ceremony was scheduled at the Phoenician Resort in Scottsdale, with a reception overlooking Camelback Mountain that would cost more than most people's houses. Jessica had envisioned a desert sunset theme with custom linens, imported flowers, and a string quartet flown in from Los Angeles. The guest list read like Phoenix's social registry, mixed with fashion industry celebrities and influential restaurant owners from across the Southwest. My role in these preparations evolved from willing helper to unpaid coordinator. While Jessica focused on creative decisions and Linda managed vendor relationships, I handled the unglamorous logistics that made everything possible. I created spreadsheets tracking RSVPs, coordinated delivery schedules, managed payment timelines, and resolved the countless small crises that threatened to derail carefully laid plans. My business training proved invaluable for organizing such a complex event, though my contributions were treated as routine assistance rather than specialized expertise. The financial commitment was staggering. Robert had allocated nearly $200,000 for a single day's celebration, justifying the expense as a business investment and family milestone. The wedding planner alone commanded $15,000, while Jessica's custom dress cost more than a luxury car.
Weekly consultations and seasonal adjustments to achieve the perfect aesthetic vision. The photographer's fee included engagement sessions, wedding coverage, and elaborate albums that would preserve every moment in artistic splendor. During these months of intensive planning, my graduate studies continued with increasing academic success. My coursework in advanced financial analysis and strategic management was earning recognition from professors who began suggesting career opportunities at consulting firms and Fortune 500 companies. Dr. Martinez, my corporate strategy instructor, recommended me for a summer internship with the prestigious Phoenix Consulting Group that specialized in family business transitions. The position offered valuable experience and networking opportunities that could launch my career in directions my parents had never imagined. The irony wasn't lost on me that my surname, Martinez, matched my professor's, though we shared no family connection. Dr. Martinez understood family business dynamics from both academic and personal perspectives, having helped his own relatives navigate succession planning in their restaurant empire. He recognized patterns in my case studies that reflected real-world experience rather than theoretical knowledge, and he encouraged me to leverage this background for maximum career advantage. Meanwhile, Jessica's wedding preparations intensified with monthly trips to Los Angeles for dress fittings and design consultations. These expeditions became family adventures, with Robert and Linda accompanying her to meetings with high-end vendors and celebrity event planners. They returned from each trip with photographs and stories that dominated dinner conversations for weeks. Jessica's artistic vision was expanding beyond traditional wedding boundaries into performance art territory, with custom lighting effects and choreographed moments that would create Instagram-worthy content for years to come. My attempts to contribute strategic thinking to wedding logistics were politely dismissed. When I suggested ways to streamline vendor coordination and reduce unnecessary expenses, Linda explained that this wasn't about efficiency, but about creating magical memories. My business school training in project management and cost optimization was viewed as missing the point entirely. Jessica's wedding wasn't a business transaction requiring analysis. It was an artistic statement demanding unlimited resources and unwavering support. The rehearsal dinner alone required more planning than most weddings. Jessica envisioned an intimate gathering for only immediate family and wedding party members, but her definition of intimate included 60 people at a private dining room in Scottsdale's most exclusive restaurant. The menu featured 5 courses of fusion cuisine that blended traditional Mexican flavors with contemporary presentation styles, designed to showcase our family's restaurant heritage while demonstrating Jessica's sophisticated palate. As my MBA program neared completion, the contrast between my academic achievements and Jessica's wedding preparations became increasingly stark. My thesis on family business succession planning was generating interest from industry publications, with editors requesting permission to excerpt portions for their magazines. This research represented months of intensive analysis examining how family enterprises transition between generations, including case studies of successful and failed succession attempts across various industries. The timing couldn't have been more relevant to our family situation, though Robert and Linda showed little interest in my findings. Their focus remained fixed on wedding details, while I was developing expertise that could secure their financial future and preserve the business they'd spent decades building. My analysis had revealed concerning vulnerabilities in their retirement planning and business structure, but these warnings competed unsuccessfully with flower arrangement decisions and musical selections for Jessica's special day. 2 months before graduation, I scheduled a family dinner specifically to discuss my upcoming ceremony and career plans. I wanted to share my academic achievements and explain the job opportunities emerging from my graduate studies. The evening began promisingly, with Robert and Linda asking detailed questions about my thesis research and future aspirations. For 30 minutes, I felt like the center of their attention, describing how my MBA could benefit our family business and create new growth opportunities. Then Jessica arrived with Marcus, fresh from a meeting with their wedding videographer. She burst through the door carrying fabric samples and mood boards, immediately transforming our dinner conversation into another wedding planning session. The table became covered with color swatches and venue photographs as Jessica explained her latest creative inspirations. Robert and Linda's attention shifted completely, leaving my career discussion hanging unfinished in the background. I sat quietly as conversation flowed around bridesmaid dress options and reception entertainment choices. My thesis research, job prospects, and graduation ceremony became forgotten topics, while everyone debated the merits of rose gold versus champagne accent colors. The evening that was supposed to celebrate my academic achievements became another planning session for Jessica's wedding, and nobody seemed to notice the transition except me. Later that night, I called Ashley to vent my frustration about the dinner's outcome. She listened patiently as I described how my parents' attention had been completely hijacked by wedding details, leaving no space for discussion about my future. Ashley's response was characteristically direct and supportive. She pointed out that my parents' priorities had been clearly demonstrated, and I needed to stop expecting different treatment simply because logic suggested they should care about my achievements. Her words stung because they were accurate. I had been hoping that earning an MBA from a prestigious program would finally command my parents' respect and attention, but their behavior patterns weren't going to change simply because I had acquired additional credentials. Jessica remained their primary focus regardless of my accomplishments, and wedding planning provided the perfect justification for ignoring everything else. The following weeks brought increasing tension as graduation approached and wedding preparations reached peak fever. Jessica's dress required multiple alterations as her weight fluctuated under the stress of planning such an elaborate event. Each fitting became a family emergency, requiring Linda's immediate attention and emotional support.
Artistic vision adjustments. The photographer scheduled multiple pre-wedding sessions to capture Jessica and Marcus in various romantic settings around Phoenix and Scottsdale. Meanwhile, my graduation ceremony details went unacknowledged, despite my repeated attempts to provide information about parking, seating arrangements, and reception locations. I sent email reminders with official university communications, hoping the formal presentation would emphasize the occasion's importance. I mentioned the ceremony during phone calls and family gatherings, trying to ensure they understood the date and time. Each attempt was met with distracted acknowledgement and promises to check their calendars, but no concrete commitments or planning discussions. 3 weeks before graduation, desperation drove me to be more direct than usual. I called during a quiet evening when I hoped to have their undivided attention. Linda answered the phone sounding unusually relaxed, and I seized the opportunity to discuss graduation plans in detail. I explained the ceremony's significance, describing how MBA programs differ from undergraduate degrees, and why this achievement represented 6 years of higher education culminating in advanced business expertise. Linda listened politely, asking appropriate questions about the venue and timeline. For several minutes, our conversation felt like the family support I'd been craving throughout graduate school.
She seemed genuinely interested in my academic experience and proud of my persistence in completing such a challenging program. I began describing post-graduation career opportunities and how my degree could benefit our family business in strategic planning and financial management. Then her phone beeped with a text message from Jessica about an urgent wedding crisis requiring immediate consultation. The florist had discovered that Jessica's preferred roses wouldn't be available in sufficient quantities for the ceremony, creating a design emergency that threatened to compromise the entire aesthetic vision. Linda's attention immediately shifted to this crisis, transforming from engaged parent to wedding coordinator in seconds. Our conversation about my graduation became secondary to discussing backup flower options and color coordination alternatives. I realized during that phone call that nothing would change their priorities. Jessica's wedding had become their singular focus, consuming every available resource of time, money, and emotional energy. My MBA graduation, regardless of its objective importance or long-term implications, couldn't compete with the immediate drama and excitement of planning such an elaborate celebration. Part 3. The escalation. The flower crisis became the catalyst for a series of escalating demands that revealed the true depth of my parents' obsession with Jessica's wedding perfection. What started as a simple availability issue with roses evolved into a comprehensive redesign of the ceremony's visual elements, requiring consultations with multiple vendors and complete revision of previously finalized plans. Linda spent 3 days driving between nurseries and floral suppliers, trying to source alternatives that would meet Jessica's exacting artistic standards while maintaining the desert sunset theme. This emergency consumed the week when I had hoped to finalize graduation arrangements with my family. My attempts to discuss ceremony logistics were met with frazzled responses about wedding crises that took precedence over everything else. Robert joined the flower hunt, using his business connections to contact suppliers across Arizona and California. The family's entire schedule revolved around resolving the single aspect of Jessica's wedding, while my graduation approached with no acknowledgement or planning. Ashley watched this chaos unfold during study sessions at the library, where I vented my frustration about being completely overlooked during such an important time in my life. Her family had already booked flights from Taiwan to attend her graduation ceremony, treating the occasion with appropriate reverence and celebration planning. The contrast between her family's excited preparation and my family's total preoccupation with wedding flowers highlighted how abnormal my situation had become. David offered his perspective during long walks around Tempe's Mill Avenue, where we discussed family dynamics and relationship patterns. His psychology background helped him identify codependent behaviors and emotional manipulation tactics that I had normalized over years of living with such treatment. He pointed out that my parents weren't simply busy with wedding planning, they were actively choosing Jessica's needs over mine repeatedly and systematically. Dr. Williams, my thesis advisor, noticed my distraction during our final meetings and asked about my support system during this transitional period. When I explained that my parents were too busy with wedding preparations to attend my graduation, her expression revealed shock and disappointment. She had assumed that completing an MBA program would be a major family celebration, especially given my outstanding academic performance and research contributions. Her reaction validated my feelings of abandonment and neglect, confirming that my parents' behavior fell far outside normal family support patterns. Dr. Williams shared stories of other students whose families had traveled across continents to attend their graduations, treating these ceremonies as life-defining moments worthy of significant sacrifice and celebration. My situation was clearly abnormal, though I had been conditioned to accept such treatment as routine. The week before graduation brought the final confirmation of my parents' priorities. Linda called on Tuesday evening, her voice strained with exhaustion from coordinating wedding vendor meetings and managing Jessica's emotional fluctuations. She explained that they had found replacement flowers but needed to adjust color schemes throughout the entire event design. This modification required meetings with the wedding planner, photographer, and venue coordinator to ensure visual consistency across all elements. During this conversation, I made one last attempt to secure their attendance at my graduation ceremony. I explained that the business school was recognizing my thesis research with a special mention during the ceremony, acknowledging work that could potentially be published in industry journals. This honor was unprecedented for a graduate student and represented validation of my analytical abilities and research methodology. Linda's response was distracted acknowledgement, followed by an immediate return to wedding logistics. She needed to coordinate with Jessica's makeup artist about adjusting color palettes to complement the revised floral arrangements. The photographer required advance notice about lighting changes at specific moments during the ceremony.
Changes that would affect ceremony and reception coverage. Every decision created ripple effects that demanded immediate attention and resolution. I realized during this conversation that my graduation had become completely invisible to my family. Even receiving special academic recognition couldn't penetrate their wedding obsession or generate meaningful interest in my achievements. Jessica's flower arrangements commanded more attention and emotional investment than my 6 years of higher education and outstanding academic performance. The following day brought news that Jessica's dress required emergency alterations due to stress-related weight changes. This development triggered another family crisis, requiring Linda's immediate support and Robert's financial resources. The designer demanded additional fees for rush alterations and insisted on multiple fittings to ensure perfect results. These appointments were scheduled throughout the week, including Saturday morning, when my graduation ceremony was planned to begin. When Linda called to explain this conflict, her tone suggested that my graduation could easily be rescheduled, while Jessica's dress fittings were immutable commitments. She seemed genuinely confused by my emotional response, as if postponing my MBA ceremony was a reasonable accommodation for wedding preparation needs. The idea that my graduation had equal importance to Jessica's dress alterations never seemed to occur to her. Robert reinforced this perspective when he took the phone, explaining the business rationale behind prioritizing Jessica's wedding over my graduation. This celebration would showcase our family's success to influential guests who could provide future opportunities for restaurant expansion and business development. My graduation, while personally meaningful, offered no comparable networking advantages or strategic benefits for family enterprises. His analysis reduced my 6 years of higher education to a personal hobby rather than a professional achievement with potential business applications. The irony was devastating, given that my MBA research specifically addressed succession planning challenges facing family businesses like ours. I possessed exactly the expertise they needed for long-term sustainability, but they were too focused on short-term wedding spectacle to recognize this value. The conversation ended with promises to celebrate my graduation after Jessica's wedding, treating my ceremony as a minor personal milestone that could be acknowledged whenever convenient. They suggested taking photographs to share later, completely missing the emotional significance of family presence during such transformative moments. My achievement had been reduced to social media content, rather than a life-changing accomplishment worthy of immediate celebration. That evening, I sat alone in my apartment reviewing graduation ceremony programs and reflecting on the complete breakdown of family support during such a crucial time. Ashley called to check on my emotional state, offering to have her parents include me in their post-graduation celebration plans. Her kindness highlighted the stark contrast between chosen family support and biological family neglect. David arrived with dinner and spent the evening helping me process the complex emotions surrounding my family's abandonment. We discussed the psychological impact of being consistently deprioritized and how such treatment affected self-worth and future relationship patterns. His insights helped me understand that my parents' behavior reflected their values and limitations rather than my inadequacy or undeserving nature. Dr. Williams sent an email expressing disappointment about my family's absence from graduation and offering to arrange special recognition during the ceremony to acknowledge my isolation. Her gesture was deeply meaningful, representing the kind of support and validation I had hoped to receive from Robert and Linda. The contrast between professional mentorship and parental neglect was particularly striking. As Saturday approached, I prepared for graduation day with mixed emotions of pride and sadness. My academic achievements deserved celebration regardless of my family's absence.
But their choice to prioritize wedding preparations over my ceremony created lasting wounds that would influence our relationship permanently. This abandonment would become a defining moment that clarified my position in their hierarchy of importance. The finality of their decision crystallized during a brief phone call on Friday evening. Linda called to confirm that they wouldn't be attending graduation due to Jessica's dress fitting emergency, speaking as if this was an unavoidable natural disaster rather than a conscious choice about priorities. Her tone suggested that reasonable people would understand this decision, making me feel unreasonable for expecting their presence at my MBA ceremony. I hung up the phone knowing that something fundamental had shifted in our family relationship. Their absence for my graduation wasn't simply about scheduling conflicts or wedding planning stress. It was a clear statement about my value relative to Jessica's needs and their willingness to sacrifice my important moments for her convenience. This realization would fuel everything that happened next. Part 4. Background context. The Martinez family legacy began with my grandfather, Antonio Martinez, who immigrated from Guadalajara in the 1960s with nothing but determination and traditional family recipes passed down through generations. He started with a single food cart in downtown Phoenix, serving authentic tacos and fresh salsas to construction workers and office employees who craved genuine Mexican flavors. Antonio worked 18-hour days, 7 days a week, building a reputation for quality ingredients and consistent service that gradually attracted a loyal customer base. My father, Robert, grew up in this environment of relentless work ethic and family commitment. As the eldest son, he was expected to learn every aspect of the business, from food preparation to customer service to financial management. Robert spent his teenage years working alongside Antonio, absorbing lessons about business operations and the importance of maintaining authentic cultural identity while adapting to American market preferences. These experiences shaped his understanding of success as requiring total dedication and personal sacrifice. Jessica entered the family through marriage, bringing organizational skills and aesthetic sensibilities that complemented Robert's operational expertise. She had studied interior design before meeting my father and immediately recognized opportunities to modernize Martinez Family Restaurants without compromising their authentic character. She redesigned dining rooms, updated menu
presentations, and developed marketing strategies that attracted broader customer demographics while maintaining the loyal base Antonio had cultivated. Together, Robert and Linda expanded from Antonio's single cart to 12 restaurant locations across Arizona and New Mexico. Each expansion was carefully planned and personally supervised, with both parents working extreme hours to ensure consistent quality and service standards. They maintained hands-on management styles, visiting every location regularly and building personal relationships with employees who became extended family members. This business success came with clear expectations for their daughters. Jessica and I were raised understanding that we would eventually contribute to the family enterprise, though our roles were defined very differently from early childhood. Jessica's artistic talents were recognized and cultivated as potential assets for modernizing restaurant aesthetics and marketing approaches. My analytical abilities were acknowledged but channeled toward operational efficiency and administrative functions rather than strategic leadership. The favoritism patterns began emerging when we were very young, though they were initially subtle enough to seem like natural personality differences. Jessica's creative projects received enthusiastic support and prominent display throughout our home, while my academic achievements were acknowledged but not celebrated. Birthday parties reflected these priorities, with Jessica's celebrations becoming elaborate themed events, while mine remained simple family gatherings. School conferences revealed the disparity clearly to outside observers. Teachers consistently praised my analytical abilities, organizational skills, and leadership potential during meetings with Robert and Linda. However, these academic strengths were viewed as useful traits rather than exceptional talents deserving special cultivation. Jessica's artistic abilities, by contrast, generated excitement and investment in specialized programs, private lessons, and advanced creative opportunities. The restaurant business became Jessica's laboratory for exploring design concepts and aesthetic innovations. She was encouraged to sketch menu redesigns, suggest color scheme modifications, and influence hiring decisions based on appearance preferences. Her artistic vision was consistently solicited and implemented, creating visible changes that earned praise from customers and employees. Meanwhile, my suggestions about operational improvements or customer service enhancements were politely received but rarely implemented. Extended family gatherings reinforce these dynamics through conversation patterns and attention distribution. Jessica's latest creative projects dominated discussions, with relatives asking detailed questions about her artistic development and future plans. My academic achievements were mentioned briefly before conversations shifted to more exciting topics like Jessica's fashion sense or creative collaborations with local artists. Family vacations reflected these priorities through activity selections and photography focus. Destinations were often chosen to provide Jessica with artistic inspiration or cultural experiences that would enhance her creative development. Museums, galleries, and design districts received extensive exploration time, while educational attractions or business-related sites were minimally acknowledged. Photo albums from these trips featured Jessica prominently, capturing her aesthetic interactions with various environments. Holiday celebrations followed similar patterns, with Jessica's creative contributions to decorations and entertaining taking center stage. She designed custom holiday cards, coordinated color schemes, and planned aesthetic elements that impressed guests and generated compliments for the family's aesthetic sensibilities. My contributions were typically functional rather than decorative, handling logistics and coordination that enabled Jessica's creative vision to flourish. The pattern extended to gift-giving occasions, where Jessica received art supplies, design software, and creative experiences, while I received practical items or educational materials. Her gifts were selected to nurture artistic development and provide inspiration for creative projects. My gifts acknowledged academic interests, but lacked the thoughtfulness and investment devoted to Jessica's artistic pursuits. High school intensified these dynamics through extracurricular activity support and college preparation investments. Jessica's participation in art programs, fashion competitions, and creative showcases received enthusiastic family support, including travel expenses, entry fees, and time commitments for attendance. My involvement in academic competitions, business clubs, and leadership organizations received acknowledgement but minimal active support. College selection processes revealed the financial priorities clearly. Jessica's acceptance to expensive private art schools was celebrated as worth any financial sacrifice necessary for her creative development. My acceptance to state university business programs was acknowledged as a practical choice that would provide useful skills while minimizing educational expenses. The message was clear. Jessica's education was an investment in the family's creative future, while mine was a reasonable preparation for eventual administrative roles. During college years, family communications maintained these patterns through phone call content and visit frequency. Jessica's creative projects, social experiences, and artistic development received detailed discussion and enthusiastic response. My academic achievements, internship experiences, and business knowledge development were acknowledged briefly before conversations returned to Jessica's more interesting creative pursuits. Summer employment arrangements reflected these priorities through responsibility assignments and compensation structures. Jessica's creative internships with design firms and fashion companies were subsidized and celebrated as valuable learning experiences. My operational roles within family restaurants were viewed as practical training while providing useful labor for business needs. The wedding planning phase represented the ultimate expression of these long-established patterns.
Jessica's creative vision for her ceremony became the singular focus, consuming resources and attention that had been systematically directed toward her needs throughout our lives. My graduation timing conflict with wedding preparations simply continued the pattern of sacrificing my important moments for Jessica's convenience. Understanding this historical context was crucial for recognizing that my graduation abandonment wasn't an isolated incident, but rather the predictable culmination of 24 years of systematic favoritism. Robert and Linda's choice to prioritize Jessica's wedding over my graduation celebration wasn't a matter of mismanagement or oversight, but rather a consistent application of a family practice that valued Jessica's artistic development above any of my accomplishments or milestones.
To prioritize Jessica's dress fittings over my MBA ceremony represented their consistent values and priorities, rather than a temporary lapse in judgment or awareness. This realization was both devastating and liberating. Devastating because it confirmed that my parents would never naturally prioritize my needs or achievements equally with Jessica's. Liberating because it freed me from the futile effort to earn equal treatment through academic excellence or professional success. Their hierarchy was fixed and unchanging, regardless of my accomplishments or Jessica's actual needs. Part 5. Pattern recognition. The systematic nature of my family's favoritism became undeniable through careful analysis of specific incidents spanning 2 decades. Each example individually seemed explainable through circumstances or timing, but collectively, they revealed deliberate and consistent prioritization of Jessica's needs over mine, regardless of relative importance or merit. This pattern recognition was crucial for understanding that my parents' graduation abandonment represented normal family behavior rather than an exceptional situation requiring special circumstances. Elementary school achievements provided early evidence of these patterns through celebration disparities and recognition differences. When I won the district science fair in 4th grade, beating students from 12 schools with a project analyzing restaurant customer flow patterns, my parents attended the ceremony but left immediately afterward for Jessica's art class exhibition. My trophy sat on a bookshelf in my bedroom, while Jessica's artwork covered every wall of our common living spaces. The science fair victory should have been significant because it demonstrated analytical abilities relevant to our family business and predicted future academic success in technical fields. Instead, it was treated as a nice personal accomplishment, while Jessica's finger paintings received prolonged discussion and prominent display. This early incident established a pattern where my achievements were acknowledged but not celebrated, while Jessica's received enthusiastic support and ongoing promotion. Middle school experiences intensified these patterns through activity support and resource allocation decisions. Jessica's participation in theater productions required costume expenses, rehearsal transportation, and enthusiastic attendance at multiple performances. My involvement in student government and academic competitions received minimal support, despite requiring similar time commitments and offering comparable skill development opportunities. The contrast became particularly stark during 8th grade graduation ceremonies. Jessica was completing elementary school the same week, with both ceremonies scheduled on consecutive days. Robert and Linda treated Jessica's elementary graduation as a major celebration requiring professional photography and extended family invitations. My middle school graduation was attended, but not photographed or celebrated beyond basic acknowledgement of completion. High school multiplied these disparities through college preparation investments and extracurricular activity support. Jessica's art portfolio development received professional consultation costing thousands of dollars, while my academic competition participation was supported through minimal entry fees and basic transportation.
Her creative development was viewed as requiring expert guidance and significant investment, while my intellectual development was expected to proceed independently. The college application process revealed financial priorities through application fee payments and campus visit arrangements. Jessica visited multiple expensive private art schools, with Robert and Linda accompanying her for comprehensive tours and family bonding experiences. My visits to state universities were brief, solo trips with minimal financial support or parental involvement. Scholarship discussions highlighted these priorities clearly through expectation differences and celebration disparities. Jessica's artistic merit scholarships were celebrated as validation of family investment in her creative development and proof of her exceptional talents. My academic merit scholarships were acknowledged as practical benefits that would reduce educational expenses, rather than recognition of intellectual achievements. Summer job assignments during high school demonstrated these patterns through responsibility differences and compensation structures. Jessica worked at upscale boutiques and design studios that provided aesthetic inspiration and networking opportunities for her creative career. My restaurant responsibilities included dishwashing, food preparation, and customer service roles that were necessary but unglamorous aspects of family business operations. College communication patterns maintained these disparities through phone call content and emotional investment levels. Weekly calls with Jessica focused on her creative projects, social experiences, and artistic development, with Robert and Linda asking detailed questions and offering enthusiastic encouragement. My calls were shorter and more functional, covering academic progress and health status before quickly transitioning to Jessica updates or restaurant business issues. Holiday visit arrangements reflected these priorities through scheduling accommodations and celebration planning. Jessica's college schedule received primary consideration for family gathering timing, with everyone else expected to adjust their plans accordingly. My academic calendar was viewed as more flexible, despite graduate school demands being equally rigid and important. Gift-giving occasions consistently demonstrated these patterns through selection criteria and investment levels. Jessica's presents were carefully chosen to support her artistic development or provide creative inspiration, often requiring significant research and expense. My gifts were practical or generic, lacking the thoughtfulness and personalization devoted to Jessica's artistic interests. Family vacation planning revealed these priorities through destination selection and activity emphasis. Trips were often chosen to provide Jessica with aesthetic inspiration or cultural experiences that would enhance her creative development, with museums and galleries receiving extensive exploration time, while other interests were minimally acknowledged. Restaurant business involvement showed these patterns through consultation differences and implementation preferences. Jessica's aesthetic suggestions were consistently solicited and implemented, creating visible changes that earned praise and validation. My operational improvement recommendations were politely received but rarely acted upon, despite my business education providing relevant expertise. Wedding planning represented the ultimate expression of these established patterns, rather than an exceptional situation requiring special circumstances.
Exceptional situation. Jessica's creative vision became the family's consuming passion, while my simultaneous academic achievements were completely overshadowed by dress fittings and flower arrangements. This prioritization was entirely consistent with 20 years of similar choices. The graduation scheduling conflict was predictable given this historical context. Robert and Linda had consistently chosen Jessica's immediate needs over my important moments throughout our lives. Selecting her dress emergency over my MBA ceremony simply continued their established pattern of priority allocation. Recognition of these patterns was both painful and empowering. Painful because it confirmed that my parents' treatment wasn't motivated by temporary circumstances or correctable misunderstandings, but by fundamental values and preferences that favored Jessica systematically. Empowering because it freed me from futile attempts to earn equal treatment through increased achievement or perfect behavior. Ashley's perspective on these patterns was particularly valuable because her cultural background emphasized academic achievement and educational celebration. Her family's reaction to my graduation abandonment revealed how abnormal my treatment was compared to families that valued intellectual accomplishment and professional development. This external validation confirmed that my feelings of neglect were justified rather than oversensitive. David's psychological insights helped me understand the long-term emotional impact of systematic favoritism and how such treatment affects self-worth and relationship patterns. His analysis of my family dynamics revealed manipulation tactics and emotional neglect that I had normalized through years of exposure. This understanding was crucial for recognizing that change was impossible without fundamental shifts in family values. Dr. Williams's professional perspective on family business dynamics provided additional context for understanding how favoritism patterns affect succession planning and organizational stability. Her experience with other family enterprises revealed that systematic preference for one child often creates long-term business vulnerabilities and financial instability that threaten generational wealth transfer. The pattern recognition process culminated in accepting that my parents would never naturally prioritize my achievements or needs equally with Jessica's, regardless of objective circumstances or relative importance. This acceptance was devastating but necessary for making strategic decisions about my future relationship with the family and my role in their business enterprises. Understanding these patterns enabled me to predict future family behavior and plan accordingly. Jessica's wedding represented the pinnacle of their favoritism, but it wouldn't be the last time my needs were sacrificed for her convenience. Any hope for equal treatment or genuine appreciation was unrealistic, given their consistent preference patterns. This recognition became the foundation for everything that followed. Once I accepted that change was impossible through conventional means, alternative approaches became necessary for protecting my interests and ensuring appropriate recognition of my contributions to family success. The graduation abandonment wasn't just disappointing, it was the final proof that dramatic action was required to secure my position and future. Part 6. Breaking point in youth. The transformation from hopeful daughter to strategic planner began during my junior year of high school, triggered by an incident that crystallized everything wrong with our family dynamics. Robert had promised to attend my presentation at the Arizona Young Entrepreneurs Competition, where I was pitching a business plan for modernizing family restaurant operations through technology integration. This wasn't just another school project, but a legitimate competition with real business leaders serving as judges and offering internship opportunities to winners. I had spent months developing a comprehensive proposal that addressed specific challenges facing Martinez Family Restaurants. My analysis included customer wait time reduction through mobile ordering systems, inventory management optimization through predictive analytics, and staff scheduling improvements that could reduce labor costs while improving service quality. The presentation represented everything I had learned about business operations combined with intimate knowledge of our family's specific challenges and opportunities. The competition was scheduled for a Saturday afternoon in downtown Phoenix, with presentations beginning at 2 o'clock. I had confirmed Robert's attendance multiple times during the preceding weeks, emphasizing how important his presence would be for my confidence and credibility with the judges. He seemed genuinely excited about my project and proud that I was applying business concepts to improve our family enterprise. That morning, Robert called to explain he couldn't attend because Jessica needed emergency help with a fashion portfolio crisis. Her photography session for college applications had been ruined by equipment malfunctions, and she required immediate assistance to arrange a replacement shoot. According to Robert, this emergency took precedence because Jessica's college acceptance depended on portfolio quality, while my competition was just an extracurricular activity without long-term consequences.
The logic was infuriating because it dismissed my entrepreneurial competition as trivial while treating Jessica's photography reshoot as a genuine emergency. Both situations involved important deadlines and future opportunities, but only Jessica's received priority treatment and family resources. My months of preparation and potential networking opportunities were sacrificed for Jessica's convenience without consideration of relative importance or fairness. I arrived at the competition venue alone, watching other students receive encouragement from parents and family members who understood the significance of youth entrepreneurship development. The contrast was humiliating and motivating simultaneously, highlighting my isolation while strengthening my determination to succeed independently. I delivered my presentation with precision and passion, earning second place and recognition from judges who were impressed by my operational analysis and implementation strategies. The victory should have been a family celebration, but it became another example of achievement minimization and priority distortion. Robert congratulated me briefly before launching into detailed discussion of Jessica's successful photography reshoot and portfolio completion. My business competition success was acknowledged as nice personal accomplishment, while Jessica's crisis resolution was treated as an unparalleled family achievement deserving commemoration and public praise.
Family triumph requiring extended celebration. This incident marked the end of my attempts to earn equal treatment through academic excellence or business achievement. I realized that no accomplishment would be significant enough to command my parents' attention when competing with Jessica's immediate needs or creative pursuits. Their priority hierarchy was fixed and unchanging, regardless of objective merit or long-term implications. The following week brought confirmation of these realizations through scholarship notification processes. I had received a partial scholarship to Arizona State University based on academic merit and extracurricular leadership, reducing our family's educational expenses significantly while providing recognition of my intellectual capabilities. This achievement should have generated pride and celebration as validation of our family's emphasis on education and success. Instead, the scholarship announcement was overshadowed by Jessica's acceptance to the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising, which required full tuition payment without financial aid assistance. Robert and Linda celebrated Jessica's acceptance as validation of family investment in her creative development, while treating my scholarship as expected outcome rather than exceptional achievement. The financial benefit of my scholarship was acknowledged, but not appreciated as evidence of academic excellence. The contrast became more pronounced when college financing discussions began in earnest. Jessica's expensive private education was presented as non-negotiable investment in family creative assets, requiring whatever sacrifice was necessary to ensure her artistic development continued at the highest level. My state university education was viewed as practical choice that would provide useful skills while minimizing expenses and maintaining financial flexibility for more important priorities. These conversations revealed fundamental differences in how Robert and Linda valued their daughters' futures and potential contributions to family success. Jessica's creative education was treated as essential investment in modernizing restaurant aesthetics and marketing strategies. My business education was acknowledged as useful, but not critical for family enterprise success, since operational management could be learned through practical experience rather than formal training. Dr. Jennifer Hayes, my high school guidance counselor, noticed these family dynamics during college planning meetings and expressed concern about the disparate treatment and investment levels. She pointed out that my academic achievements and leadership potential suggested exceptional business capabilities that could benefit any organization, including family enterprises. Her professional perspective validated my feelings of being undervalued while confirming that outside observers recognized my capabilities. During senior year, these patterns intensified through graduation planning and future discussion processes. Jessica's high school graduation was treated as a major milestone requiring extensive family celebration and professional photography. My simultaneous achievement was acknowledged but not celebrated with comparable enthusiasm or investment, creating obvious disparities that were noticed by extended family members and friends. The summer before college brought final confirmation that my role in family hierarchy was permanently established. Jessica spent her time preparing for art school through portfolio refinement and creative exploration, supported by family resources and emotional investment. I worked full-time at our restaurants, learning operational details while earning money for college expenses that weren't covered by scholarship funding. This work experience provided valuable insights into business operations and customer service challenges, but it was viewed as practical training rather than professional development.
Meanwhile, Jessica's creative internship with a local design firm was celebrated as valuable learning experience that would enhance her artistic capabilities and provide networking opportunities for future career advancement. The internship arrangements revealed ongoing favoritism through compensation structures and expectation differences. Jessica's creative position was subsidized by family funding to ensure she could focus entirely on artistic development without financial pressures. My restaurant work was expected to be self-supporting while contributing to college funding through wages earned from operational responsibilities. These experiences taught me that earning equal treatment through achievement was impossible given my parents' fixed preferences and value systems. No amount of academic success, business acumen, or professional potential would generate the enthusiasm and investment they devoted to Jessica's creative pursuits. Their hierarchy was based on personal preferences rather than objective merit or potential contributions. The realization was liberating because it freed me from futile attempts to compete for attention through increased performance or perfect behavior. Instead, I began developing alternative strategies for securing my future and protecting my interests within family business structures. If Robert and Linda wouldn't naturally recognize my value, I would need to create situations where my contributions became indispensable for their success and security. Ashley's family provided contrast examples of how parents could support multiple children's achievements without creating hierarchies or favoritism patterns. Her younger brother's academic success received equal celebration and investment as Ashley's accomplishments, demonstrating that fair treatment was possible when parents valued their children equally rather than playing favorites based on personal preferences. This comparison highlighted how abnormal my family's treatment had become and validated my decision to stop seeking approval through conventional achievement channels. Ashley's parents recognized that different talents deserved equal support and celebration, while mine had created artificial hierarchies that privileged creativity over analytical capabilities, regardless of potential applications or long-term value. The breaking point came during a family dinner conversation about future business succession planning. Robert mentioned that Jessica would eventually take creative control of restaurant aesthetics and marketing strategies, while I would handle operational management and administrative functions. This division of responsibilities reflected their assumptions about our relative capabilities and interests, rather than actual consultation about our preferences or career goals. I realized during this conversation that my business education was viewed as preparation for middle management roles, rather than strategic leadership positions. Robert and Linda had
Predetermined that Jessica would guide creative direction while I would implement their decisions through operational efficiency and administrative competence. My analytical abilities were valued as supporting Jessica's vision rather than generating independent strategic initiatives. This predetermined role assignment confirmed that earning respect through achievement was impossible within existing family structures. My MBA education, business competition victories, and operational insights were viewed as useful skills for implementing others' decisions, rather than generating strategic leadership or independent authority. I would always be supporting Jessica's creative vision rather than developing my own business philosophy. The recognition triggered fundamental shifts in my relationship with family business planning and personal career development. Instead of accepting predetermined roles and hierarchy positions, I began exploring how my analytical capabilities could create independent value and strategic advantages that couldn't be dismissed or minimized through traditional favoritism patterns. My business education was providing tools for understanding organizational vulnerabilities and succession planning challenges that Robert and Linda hadn't adequately addressed in their retirement preparation. This knowledge represented potential leverage for negotiating better treatment and recognition, while protecting my long-term interests within family enterprise structures. The breaking point wasn't dramatic confrontation, but quiet realization that conventional approaches to family relationships were futile given established patterns and preferences. Change would require strategic thinking and careful planning rather than emotional appeals or increased achievement efforts. My business training was about to become more valuable than my parents realized, though not in ways they would appreciate or anticipate. Part 7. Building New Foundation. College represented the first opportunity to construct identity in relationships independent of family hierarchy and favoritism patterns. Arizona State University's sprawling campus in Tempe offered anonymity and fresh starts that allowed me to explore capabilities and interests without constant comparison to Jessica's creative achievements.
The business program attracted motivated students from diverse backgrounds who valued analytical thinking and strategic planning over aesthetic sensibilities. My freshman dormitory assignment paired me with Maria Gonzalez, a finance major from Tucson whose family owned agricultural operations throughout southern Arizona. Maria's practical approach to business education and her family's emphasis on operational efficiency created immediate common ground for friendship development. Unlike Jessica's artistic friends who valued creativity above everything else, Maria appreciated analytical thinking and strategic planning as essential business capabilities. The friendship with Maria provided my first experience of academic collaboration without competitive undercurrents or hierarchical assumptions. We studied together, shared resources, and celebrated each other's achievements without creating artificial rankings or favoritism patterns. Maria's academic success enhanced rather than threatened my own accomplishments, demonstrating how supportive relationships could function when based on mutual respect rather than comparison dynamics. Professor Jonathan Reed's Introduction to Business Strategy course became pivotal for developing confidence in analytical capabilities and strategic thinking skills. Professor Reed recognized my ability to synthesize complex information and generate practical solutions for real-world business challenges. His encouragement was particularly meaningful because it was based on objective performance rather than family relationships or predetermined expectations. The course required semester-long projects analyzing local business operations and recommending improvement strategies. I chose to study family restaurant chains throughout Arizona, using Martinez Family Restaurants as a primary case study while maintaining objective analytical perspectives. This research revealed operational inefficiencies and strategic vulnerabilities that Robert and Linda hadn't adequately addressed in their retirement preparation. My analysis identified several critical areas where our family business was underperforming compared to industry standards and competitive operations. Inventory management was inefficient, resulting in food waste and increased costs that reduced profit margins significantly. Staff scheduling was reactive rather than predictive, creating service delays during peak periods while maintaining excess capacity during slow times. Customer feedback systems were informal and unsystematic, preventing identification of service issues or menu preferences that could drive business improvements. Professor Reed was impressed by the thoroughness and practical applicability of my restaurant industry analysis. He suggested submitting portions of my research to industry publications and encouraged me to present findings at undergraduate business conferences. This professional validation was particularly meaningful because it was based on merit rather than family connections or favoritism considerations. The research process also revealed how my business education could benefit family enterprises if Robert and Linda were willing to implement analytical recommendations rather than dismissing them as theoretical concepts. My findings could improve profitability, reduce operational costs, and enhance customer satisfaction through systematic rather than intuitive management approaches. However, presenting these insights required careful consideration of family dynamics and resistance to outside analysis. During spring semester, I joined the Student Business Association and was elected to the executive board as analytical coordinator, responsible for evaluating proposed projects and managing organizational finances. This leadership role provided practical experience in strategic planning and financial management, while building relationships with motivated students who shared professional ambitions and academic commitment. The association organized networking events with local business leaders and internship coordinators who were impressed by student initiative and analytical capabilities. These connections opened opportunities for summer internships and part-time positions that would provide practical experience while building professional credibility independent of family business involvement. Mark Stevens, managing partner at Phoenix Strategic Consulting, attended one of our networking events and was intrigued by my presentation on restaurant industry efficiency improvements. His firm specialized in helping family businesses modernize operations, prepare for succession transitions. Mark offered a summer internship that would provide exposure to professional consulting while allowing me to develop expertise in family business dynamics.
The internship opportunity was perfect for building skills relevant to our family enterprise while gaining experience that would enhance my resume for future career opportunities. However, discussing this possibility with Robert and Linda required careful consideration of how they might perceive outside business education and consulting expertise applied to family operations. Mark's consulting firm worked with restaurant chains, retail operations, and service businesses throughout the Southwest, helping family owners navigate growth challenges and succession planning issues. The internship would involve research, analysis, and recommendation development for multiple client situations, providing broader perspective on business operations beyond our specific family circumstances. Summer internship discussions with my parents revealed ongoing skepticism about formal business education and outside expertise applied to family operations. Robert and Linda valued practical experience and intuitive management over analytical approaches and systematic planning. They worried that consulting exposure might create unrealistic expectations or academic theories that weren't applicable to real-world restaurant management. Despite these concerns, they approved the internship arrangement because it provided professional experience that could eventually benefit family business operations. Their perspective was that exposure to other business models and management approaches might be useful as long as I understood that family enterprises operated differently from corporate environments and required personal commitment rather than analytical detachment. The summer internship with Phoenix Strategic Consulting exceeded my expectations for learning opportunities and professional development. Mark assigned me to multiple client projects that involved analyzing operational challenges and developing improvement recommendations for family businesses facing succession planning, growth management, and competitive positioning issues. One particularly relevant project involved a restaurant chain that was struggling with generational transition as founding owners approached retirement without clear succession plans. The analysis revealed how family favoritism and inadequate planning had created vulnerabilities that threatened business continuity and financial security for all family members. This case study provided insights directly applicable to our own family situation. The consulting experience taught me systematic approaches to business analysis and strategic planning that were far more sophisticated than the intuitive management approaches used by most family business owners. These analytical tools could identify problems and opportunities that weren't apparent through casual observation or traditional management methods. Mark became an important mentor who recognized my analytical capabilities and encouraged graduate school preparation for advanced business education. He explained how MBA programs provided strategic thinking frameworks and financial analysis tools that were essential for senior management roles in competitive business environments. His encouragement was particularly valuable because it was based on professional assessment rather than family relationships. Ashley Chen entered my life through sophomore year through our shared enrollment in Advanced Financial Analysis, where her mathematical precision and analytical thoroughness immediately impressed professors and classmates. Ashley's family background in international business provided perspectives on systematic planning and long-term strategic thinking that contrasted sharply with the informal management approaches common in family enterprises. Ashley's cultural background emphasized educational achievement and merit-based advancement rather than personal preferences or family hierarchy. Her perspective on my family dynamics was particularly valuable because she could identify manipulation patterns and favoritism behaviors that I had normalized through years of exposure. Her objective analysis helped me recognize how abnormal my treatment had become. David Thompson's entry into my social circle occurred during junior year through Ashley's introduction at a student business association mixer. David's finance major and psychology minor provided unique perspectives on business operations and human behavior that complemented my analytical approach to strategic planning. His academic interests in behavioral economics and organizational psychology offered insights into family business dynamics and decision-making patterns. The relationship with David developed gradually through shared academic interests and compatible values regarding merit-based achievement and systematic thinking. Unlike Jessica's boyfriends, who were chosen primarily for aesthetic appeal and artistic compatibility, David was selected based on intellectual connection and shared professional ambitions. This relationship represented my first experience with partnership based on mutual respect rather than hierarchical dynamics. David's psychology background provided frameworks for understanding family favoritism patterns and their long-term effects on individual development and relationship formation. His insights helped me recognize that my parents' treatment wasn't reflecting my inadequacy, but rather their limitations and preference biases that had nothing to do with objective merit or potential contributions. The junior year abroad program in London provided opportunities to study international business operations and family enterprise management in different cultural contexts. This experience revealed how succession planning and family business transitions were handled more systematically in European contexts compared to the informal approaches common in American family enterprises. The international exposure strengthened my conviction that formal business education and systematic planning were essential for long-term family business success and generational wealth preservation. The contrast between European family business practices and American informal management highlighted vulnerabilities in our family's approach that could threaten future stability and success. Up next, you've got two more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out.